Wake up. It's time for Primal Scream.
Hey, welcome back to the Primal Scream. I'm Matt.
And I am Todd.
And we are joined today by a very special guest. We've talked about him quite a few times on the podcast. Yeah.
You didn't call him a sexy bitch, did you?
No.
That was
Chuck was a sexy bitch.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what.
Aaron's
got a
right
beautiful head of hair.
We're looking at each other and the shine from the lights off our chrome domes.
Right.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, that was kind of the first thing that made me think of.
Nice.
God, that's such a sexy head of hair.
I have to be honest, I am jealous of heads of hair when I see good ones. I'm just like,
and he just had it cut. There's like 5 pounds of hair on the ground, he said.
Nice.
Anyway,
thick. It was a nice thick head of hair then.
Yes, a nice thick head of hair.
Nice.
Anyway, our guest tonight is the one, the only, Aaron Bunce. Aaron Bunce, everybody.
Bunce.
Thank you.
Aaron is, like I've said before, a new author, and he finished his first book. And I got to tell you, I've seen all the renditions, all the evolutions of this book, and it's fucking great. Oh.
I think I said before I felt bad because he said, "Hey, here you go. You want to read it?" And I was like, "Don't know if I have enough time in my day to read that. I really want to give it my attention, and I think my kids might overwhelm me."
It's a commitment. It is.
Yeah, it is. But once
anything good is.
But once you start reading it, there for a very long time when I was at work, I would just obsessively read, just constantly. I wouldn't be able to put, if I had a book, especially if I was in a series, in the middle of a series, just don't even talk to me about anything else. I'm just constantly going from one page to the next. And when I would stop a series, I would almost go into like a depressive state. And it took me a while to kind of get intrigued and locked into another series or another author. And Aaron's like, "Hey, so have you read your rendition yet?" I'm like, it's the third one. So no, I haven't read it yet. And months have gone by. And then finally I'm like, shit, dude, we're going to have you on the podcast. I need to finish this rendition because you've been telling me at work how the ending has changed and you're going to be so excited about the ending. Oh,
so good.
It is so good.
Awesome.
It's so good. Yeah. I think one of the reasons why I like this book so much is because it's remember those books back in the day when we were a kid and you'd read it and it'd say, "Hey, if you want the villain, if you want this to happen, flip to page 47.
Choose your own adventure.
Choose your own adventure book." It kind of felt like a choose your own adventure book, not in the finished product, but me knowing Aaron and him saying, "Hey, this is what I'm kicking around. What do you think?" I'm like, "Oh, you know what I think would be kind of neat. What do you think about this?" He go, "Oh, yeah, and what if we do this?" And pretty soon we would just start adding these ideas. It was just snowballing, and all of a sudden some weird, crazy concept would be birthed from out of nowhere, out of the ether. We're like, "Oh, shit, where did that come from?" I don't know, but it was cool. And so it was kind of like pick your own adventure. It was really neat. Now, I feel like I have neat ideas, but there's no way I have the determination. There's no way I have the patience. I'm at a loss for the right word, but he actually 5 years, almost 5 full years.
Yeah, it was at least 3.5 years ago. I know that because my second daughter hadn't been born yet. And
that's how I like to gauge my books, how many children I birth in between.
Yes, it's commitment. But yeah, I think it was 3.5 years ago. Just had had a string of books that I had been reading at the time, and I got to the point where I was, disappointed because you get into the same genre and you have to cycle through so many of the different stories. They all kind of flow together. They all feel the same. They all kind of end the same. You kind of yearn for something different. So I thought, okay, why not? I've tried writing a book before. I've done quite a bit of writing, short stories, all that stuff. I'm going to give it one more crack. I'm just going to sit down. I'm going to dedicate and commit myself to it and see if I can actually do it.
Yeah.
And it helped that I had a cheerleader, in Matt, who, from the very first start of the project.
You're the greatest. You're the greatest.
Yeah. Sit there, put a towel on your neck, give you a cold water bottle, and
nice.
Keep you motivated. So from the very start, it was a neat prospect. It was a lot of work, a lot of hours. But, you start with a fairly simple concept, and then your imagination takes over from there. You just kind of let it take on a life of its own and see where it goes.
What's your writing style? Do you have a time of day, or do you have a certain spot, or you make sure you commit an hour a day to it, or a page a day, or how you usually roll with your writing style? Or
I think on a regular basis, you need to dedicate a certain number of hours every day to write, but just kind of whenever the mood strikes. You can sit there in front of your laptop and beat your head against the brick wall and say, I got it right. But, the stuff you spit out may be crap. And then other times you may be, really in that zone and it feels effortless and your imagination is working well. Everything's flowing well. Before I know it, you've cracked out, holy crap, I wrote 8,000 words, and I didn't write 100 yesterday. So,
and I think that I've heard other authors say that even if you don't, you sit down and you maybe type out a couple hundred, but it's just making sure you're always going through the process of trying to get something down, even if you don't use absolutely everything you write. I don't know, but I'm
one of the neat things that I've noticed about Aaron through this process has been there's all these different types of muses. And whether it's somebody that you talk to that inspires an idea, or it's a setting, if you're in the right scene and the lighting is correct, or whatever it could be, but it comes down to music. There could be background music that it's like it just puts you click right into that perfect setting. And I thought that was really unique when you said that. You're like, hey, when I found this, what was it again? What music was it?
It was Two Steps from Hell. And it was a song called Protectors of the Earth. And traditionally, it was a group that just did music for trailers. I came across the song on YouTube, and it was just one of those Genesis moments where it hits you and it's that instant inspiration. And it inspired what ended up being the first chapter I wrote for my book. And I actually committed an entire blog post about it. I wrote about how it inspired me and how things moved from there. And it's funny because, inspired that first scene, I wrote it, quite a lengthy process, and then I kept going from there. Well, after enough time had passed, the initial stuff I wrote, that very first chapter, had no place in the book. It had changed that much. So it was, for lack of a better word, irrelevant. But it didn't make it any less significant.
Are you going to pull that out and make it a short story, or are you going to just save it for another time, maybe part of a different book, or what do you think?
It's a good question.
That stuff that you came up with at the very beginning when you were just hatching this idea, it's like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. And then you writing it and then going, you know what? I think I'm going to start here. That's like 4 or 5 chapters in from where you're at right now. Yeah, I think I'm just going to scrap all that. When I hear that, I'm sure other authors out there who are listening to this, or potential authors listening to this, and they've written and they've junked stuff. They're like, I just love writing, so it wasn't a big deal. Me, who has a really hard time focusing, and I'm happy if I get a couple pages done. I was like, oh God, all that effort, all that time gone. But it was so worth it. You would come up with different ideas and down the storyline, and you'd have to go back and make sure that the first couple chapters made sense with the last couple chapters, because you wanted to put, oh, that was a good idea. Let me just flip the script on this a little bit. Well, if I do that little switch, then I got to go back to the beginning and make sure that this happens to kind of foretell this, just set it up.
Or it could be that if you're not inspired, you've been writing for a while and you're kind of going chapter by chapter, I'm assuming, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, you know what? Down the road, I really want to make sure this happens. So maybe you jump ahead a bit and you write about that because at the moment it's kind of got you going.
Yeah, you can either hop around. I had a lot of times where I'd write a partial chapter and then you'd have that another moment of inspiration. You jump forward to writing something else, or you can take another tact. And I got a leather-bound journal and you just write notes, and I filled that up here. I'm on my second one now, but you write down a lot of notes. Plus, you get about 150,000 words into a book anyway, and you start losing track of stuff you wrote, 6 months ago. People's names, events, how people talk. You got to jump into the heads of like 7 or 8 different characters. You kind of lose track of yourself at some point. So
is like author like what you want to? Is that if you could choose the job? Is that what you think you'd want to do?
Yeah,
nice.
I love it. Because just ask Matt. We've had quite a few lengthy conversations about different ideas. He's got a really neat premise for a story that I've been trying to motivate him to write. I think he's got a really good idea. I think it's got a great setting. It's got really good characters. It's got legs.
Wait till the season of Duck Dynasty is over, and you probably might get him.
That's not what's taking up all my time. I got Gracie games. I got jiu-jitsu going on.
Yeah, multifaceted.
I got a podcast to do. There's things that I got to do.
Yeah. No, and the first thing you learn about when you write, you get to step into this completely different culture. The nomenclature is completely different. Everyone wants to say, "Oh, I just wrote 15 or 20 pages on Word." People are like, nobody tracks word count. Nobody tracks page count. It's all word count. So you become very fixated on word count. Word count. Everything's word count. Matt said it when I'd written the first part of the book, and I ended up scrapping it because it didn't make sense anymore. When I finished my full rewrite of the book actually went from, I think it was just about 100,000 words, which is a long book in its own right. When I finished the rewrite, it was 248,000 words, which is...
Could you break that up into like multiple books? Or does it have to be... There's no way you could do it.
No. In this story, this is what I really dig. Just the thought of this book, it almost physically gets me hard because it's so epic. It's just so fucking epic. The first book, it's one of those books that it's so big, it is so dense. There's so many great characters. It's not like one of these books that has one or two. Oh, those are really neat characters. No, this has like 2 handfuls of really fucking cool characters that it takes these huge volumes to tell the whole tale, to interweave these different people. He's already started writing book 2, and
it's several times.
And I am so honored that you even include me at all in trying to bounce ideas off me to kind of have a generalization of where this story is going and where you want to see it end up, and knowing where the characters are at the beginning of book 1, knowing now where they end up at the end of book 1, and knowing how much further they have to go. It's just like you couldn't possibly. It would be like taking all of Tolkien, all of his books, and trying to throw it into a 100-page novel. You just couldn't do it. You need this really dense writing, and that's what what Aaron delivers in this first book.
I don't think you do that. I don't think that happens very often anymore.
No, I think a lot of people look at, and I'm just guessing, but this is what I've seen from being a consumer of books, is that you start out with one great book and it's really thick. The Sword of Truth series. The very first book is almost 1,000 pages. The second one is, I think, even thicker. It has even more content to it. But then after that, thinner, shorter. There was like 4 books that could have been smashed into one. But it was like people were more concerned about making money, and I gotta produce.
The first one did great. Got to keep doing it.
Right.
So, who do you read? What kind of? Were you kind of a fantasy genre kind of reader, or what is it that you kind of find yourself drawn to more?
I read fantasy real early on. My folks read. I read Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. Loved those books. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the Narnia series, the Lord of the Rings. Read those when I was real little. For a long time, I didn't read any fantasy, though. Read some science fiction. Loved Robert Heinlein, some of the founding fathers of modern science fiction. Got into the thriller books. Loved Michael Crichton.
Yeah, he really is a good writer.
Yeah.
His books, to me, I'm no judge, but his books to me are kind of like simple. They're easy reads, but they do have some depth to them, and I like them a lot.
They were, but if you look into what he did as far as research, he was incredibly intellectual and he was incredibly astute about research.
Right.
Check out the bibliography of any of his books, especially books like Timeline or Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park is a great
The guy,
book.
He did massive amounts of research, and anything theoretical within his stories is stuff that grounded in some kind of modern science to the day that he's actually taken the time to research. So he's not just spewing these ideas out from the ether saying, oh, well, that sounds really cool, kind of the science fiction route about it. He spent a great amount of time researching it, and that's why you read his books and it lends credibility.
That's awesome. Kind of like Dan Brown. Well,
Yeah,
for lack of a better,
no, I was actually thinking exactly that. That's part of what I really love about some of these novels is you read something and you're like, I've never fucking heard of that. What's a particle collider?
Right.
And then you Google it and you're like, holy shit, there's actually something that exists that does that. That's pretty neat. So what other things, it makes you hungry. It whets your appetite to be a detective in this book. So not only are you absorbing this colorful tale and being entertained by this written story, but it also makes you want to be a detective. And so when you're done reading, you open up your laptop and you start typing in and Googling, is this real? Is that real? Oh, okay. So it's not like what he said, but I've just gained some knowledge and I know a little bit more of the world that I didn't know before. So that's the awesome. Research part of it, I think, is amazing.
Pretty cool. The first book I ever read that got me into reading, I was a sophomore in high school. I was a struggling learner. And so I had a friend who said, hey, you really like this book. And it was The Sword of Shannara by Terry Brooks.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I never looked back. Those, the Shannara books are like, I don't know, there's like 16 of them now or something like that.
Yeah,
but the original 3, The Sword of Shannara, I think it's the Elfstone of Shannara and the
Druid of Shannara,
something like that. But the first 3 to me were like those epic. I think when you said epic, that's the first thing that popped in my head was The Sword of Shannara, because I was like, oh, that book just took me so far. I could not imagine that I could read something and in my head I could be in this completely different place. It just floored me, and you get me very excited to read Aaron's book.
Now, when you want to compare that book to Aaron's book, I would say it falls a little short of Aaron's book. Because his book geographically is so large, and there's more characters covering such a distance that the ebb and flow of the story, as soon as you are like, oh God, I'm going to get there with this character, other character, and you're across the continent and you're wondering, how are these people going to come together? Who's good? Who's bad? How are they going to turn bad? How are they going to turn good? What are they going to develop into? There's so many more characters like that. Like,
you follow timelines then of characters? They get are young and they grow old? Is it that kind of epic kind of thing, or are the characters pretty constant?
Yeah, the characters. The book actually follows from the start to the end. Follows actually a fairly short amount of time. So when I first started writing it, I actually planned out quite the epic spread. From here's where I want to end up. Whether it's years and years and years down the road, you got to envision what your character is going to be and how the conflict will be resolved. But when I wrote it, and how the stories and the characters came together, it just turned out where it was actually a very short amount of time. Mm-hmm. I had all these things that needed to happen, right? And when you're writing it, you're like, okay, well, this took 4 or 5 chapters. How long can this book really afford to be? By the time you get to it, and when I wrote the first draft that Matt graciously read, I actually had to go back and chop a good 70 or 80 pages off the end of it, because I just felt like I was taking the story too far in this installment. And I had a more logical endpoint for it. So I chopped, a month's worth of work off the end of the book.
That's the part that I think when you talk about the patience to do it,
right? That's
the part. I think that you could put pen to paper and be okay. I feel the same way. But then for me to go, oh, you know what? That's just not working. See ya. My first thought was like, oh shit, that was a lot of time or a lot of work. That's the commitment part that I think would be a real struggle.
Yeah. When I'm sitting in this room, I think, oh, this is what I would need. If I was an author, I would need a huge whiteboard to keep a timeline, to keep everything straight in my head. I want this to happen. Timeline, put it in, the idea that you didn't have an office, you carried your laptop from one point to another, just typing stuff in. It's very
journal. Don't forget the journal.
Don't forget, the journal also.
Without the journal, I would have probably lost my mind. So,
who wrote the Sorcerer's Stone? The lady.
Harry Potter books.
Harry Potter books.
J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
And to think that she did that on her BlackBerry. She did the majority of the writing on her BlackBerry while she was on the train.
Because I think she was pretty poor at the time. I think she was like job to job kind of thing.
I can't imagine being able to keep that in my head on a I would need all these visuals. I'd need all these things to be able to map out where I want the story to go.
I'm with you. I wouldn't necessarily need a whiteboard, but I would need to lay down outlines and say, I want this to happen, and then I want this to happen, and get a map in my head, because I'm so holistic thinking that I don't break those things down. Even when I write now, I have to outline simple things so that I make sure I get things accomplished the way I want it to.
It's funny that you guys say that too, because you're looking at the process from the outside in. Well, it's actually very different when you approach it from the writer's perspective, and once you get into the meat of the project, it actually becomes much easier.
That takes over itself, kind of. And
yeah, to the point where there were some days where I'd spend 8 good solid hours writing, and I'd write a couple chapters, and I'd go to lay down and go to bed, and I couldn't sleep because I had all these thoughts just rattling around in my brain.
To add to it, or to keep on going, or
the potential for scenes, the potential for characters, or maybe things that I wanted to change I'd already written. You get so energized within the process. Your brain gets, your imagination really kicks in. You get so energized that you almost can't shut it off. And then it becomes, you kind of become this storage facility of all this wealth of knowledge.
That's a good way to put it.
I would be almost scared because there's so much rattling around in your head, and this was a good idea, and then like a week later you haven't gotten to that idea, and how many great thoughts have just drifted away.
I hate that. I'm like, what was that again? Damn it.
So many authors say that. You read a lot of writers' blogs or authors' blogs or listen to interviews, and they say that most of them carry, whether it's like a little pocket notebook around, or and now with the advent of smartphones, you've got basically a little portable computer wherever you go. Mm-hmm. They say you can't control when inspiration will strike. And that money thought, that money moment, what are you doing? Well, are you laying in bed? Are you waking up? Are you on the toilet somewhere where you can't go open your laptop? Are you at work? Are you in the middle of something? And that's really the way it was. It was, you could spend 5 or 6 hours in front of your computer and you'd spew out a bunch of, forgettable garbage. And then you'd go out to dinner with your family, and then boom, right in the middle of a plate at Biaggi's or something, it'd hit you like a freight train. Like, I have to get this down. Why are you writing on your napkin? Because I have to get this down. And it happened more times than I could count.
I've had ideas, and I've used that little voice thingy, the voice recorder.
Right.
And I thought, I did like the date. This is my idea. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but just so I don't forget. I've done that a couple of times. Hasn't done anything.
And then
but at least 3 months.
And then, well, I did that. I was doing that with I had a couple of book ideas, and I was at work, and I'd make some voice recordings, but then you get so inundated with distractions in today's world that about a month ago I was like, what did I record 2.5 years ago? Oh, that was a good recording, and maybe I'll look at it again in 2.5 years. Hey, you know what I saw today? We haven't covered current events yet. But one of the things I saw today that I thought was really cool, which was NASA has unveiled this new, it's called Valkyrie Robot, Rescue Robot. And it is really cool. If you go to Popular Science Magazine, they have an article on there. You can even watch a YouTube video on it. But we're like right at that point in time where it's just going to boom, explode. And I can easily see 20 years from now, robots being all over the place.
I think of iRobot. When I saw that robot, I thought of iRobot.
Absolutely.
I thought they're just part of our daily lives. They're doing things that we don't want to do anymore. They're taking out the trash, or they're cooking dinner. I mean, I can so see that happening. But you made a good comment earlier saying we're so inundated with two directions where we're like all the spying and all all that kind of stuff.
All the technology that's coming, all the technology that's coming at us right in our face that we're celebrating. At the same time, we are hating,
right? Because that Valkyrie had cameras on its feet, its knees, its waist, and on its head. So
right, it was all over the place.
It could walk somewhere.
You had to have that so that you could the people controlling it.
But to think that NASA couldn't tap into, or the NSA couldn't tap into NASA's feed and be able to see where that robot is and what it's doing.
On that YouTube video, it talks about them sending these robots to Mars ahead of us so that they can start the building process. These robots can start this building process.
Nice.
And then we go there, humans go there, and then we work together with the robots. And then,
well, that almost just makes sense. Why? I guess why would you take a chance with human life and just not knowing the unknown of having to go there and see what happens? Why not send something there? It can at least build a structure that maybe can support life. So when you get there, okay, let's go inside and catch our breath. Okay, now what do we need to do? Instead of getting there and going, oh shit, now I got to try to build something to make us survive,
Right. Yeah. And in the same breath, I was looking up stories for what's happening in the world recently, and I wanted to stay positive, and I pulled up RT. And
Not always a way to stay
not
positive,
the way to stay positive.
but a great source.
It is a great source of what's going on in the world and news. But in RT, they had a story about how this guy has made, he has made wearable surveillance camera detection, and it's called Armor, and it makes its debut. And basically, it's a backpack that has a infrared sensor on it. So when this guy in London is walking around the streets and he comes and his IR detector reads that he's coming within, it senses that there's a camera on the street, that he's coming up on the camera, it'll vibrate and it will alert him that he is now under the eye of the man.
Have you seen that new TV show, Almost Human?
Yeah, I think it's great.
Fantastic show. What I thought was cool is, to me, it was the little things of thwarting the technology at the time. Like those two guys that like scan their face with something, and then when they're on the surveillance cameras, where their head was like
it's all white,
a white bright light kind of thing. I thought so. In other words, the show already has you assuming that the technology is part of daily life, and these people are already have worked in how to go against it.
Absolutely,
and that's why I liked it. I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah, but when I see that stuff and I read, and I also have Aaron's book in mind, I see very easily people either plugging into a 3-dimensional game where they can create their whole surroundings.
Girls, can you create girls?
I'm sure that you probably could create girls, but I think at some point in time,
waterproof game
books.
console.
I think people are going to be able to take books that have been written in the past and create a 3D game or world that you can now be a part of. I always wanted to be a part of 28,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Actually, that's a lie. There's fucking sharks.
Great classical reference, though, Matt.
But if you wanted to be a part of that, I think in the future, with technology being what it's going to be, someday you're going to be able to plug yourself into that fucking book, and I'm going to plug myself into your book, man, because it's just so great. I really love the settings and everything. And again, in one hand, we're rushing towards technology and innovation and all these crazy inventions. And in the other hand, you have people saying, I don't want any of that. And I got to invent something. God damn you. I got to invent something. I got to use technology to keep you away from me. I got to keep Big Brother from spying on me.
It's no different than look at the ebook community. You know, they first released the ebooks, and you got this incredibly large population of people who refuse adamantly to do it. Like, oh, I can't. I have to read a real book. You know, the smell of a paper book and the feel, and then you have the I don't know if you call them more of a technologically progressive side, wants to read it on their tablets and their smartphones, their computers. And
I understand the idea of an ebook. If the power were to go out somehow or something went wrong, your books are all gone. That part I understand. I mean, you know that I have 15 to 20 tubs of books in my basement.
Oh my God.
That my wife is still.
Don't ever go to Todd's house when he's got to move shit around. Call ahead of time. Hey, what are you doing today? I'm moving books. Yeah, I'm sick.
It's a box of pillows.
Why'd you call me again?
A box of pillows for you. But I do like books. And so, I mean, but there is something that is just so fantastic of carrying around my iPad and just having it with me. And if I get stuck somewhere, there I am. You know, I mean, it's the convenience of it to me that has probably the bigger impact. I'm one of those people that I really like books. I like going to half price books.
Yeah.
I like going to Barnes & Noble. I like looking through books. I like looking at the covers. I love that part.
There's a whole thing about it. I mean, even you said it, Aaron, when you were saying that when you went through, you had gone through with the book on your computer and you were trying to make corrections.
Yeah.
Grammar. But to actually print it all out and go page by painstaking page.
Yeah. And that's one of the most difficult realizations is you can't proofread on a computer screen. You can go through and you can reread the same pages over and over again on your computer screen. But as soon as you print that out and you grab that, that mythical red pen, things jump off the page at you. And before you know it, each page is bleeding and you're just slaughtering everything. Like, oh my God, I thought it was good, but here's some more red ink.
He was telling me one day at work, he came in and he goes, hey, I got to tell you something. I'm like, well, you look kind of down. And he said, well, I let one of our friends read the book and he let his mother look at it. And I just got it back from her. And he goes, look at this. And you were ticked. You were really ticked. I mean, whether you meant to be ticked or not, but I could really tell that it was like somebody had kicked him in the balls and said your daughter was ugly. I mean, he was just like, oh, nothing is good in my life. Look at this page and look at this page. And there was so much red. But probably within 6 hours of you doing that in front of me, it really sparked something in you. And you're like, she's got a point. I need to go through this with a fine-tooth comb, and I need to print it out, and I need to make it better. Every time that you've done this, whether it was just ideas spoken, and then you wrote it out, and then you said, I'm going to scrap the first half of what I wrote the first time, and I'm going to go with this idea. Every time there's a rendition, it gets smoother and smoother. And you might have sent me an idea on an email, and I said, yeah, I love the idea. It just needs to be fuller.
Yeah, filled in.
And then you would do it. And then it was great to see. It was almost a visualization of somebody like spreading butter over like bread. Bread so porous, and there's all these hills and valleys. And by the third rendition, it was like smooth butter.
I can't believe it's not butter.
I can't believe it. It's
awesome.
Yeah. And that's the interesting journey about, kind of inventing yourself as a writer, is that when you don't have any, I've written pretty much all my life, but doing that and living the life of an author are two different things. Once you get into it, you realize that there's so much that you have to learn by trial and error that you need to learn. One thing that the good thing that you brought up about proofreading, that I'd learned that I wish that when I'd finished the first full rewrite of the book, I wish that before I'd give it to anybody else, I just printed it out, and read through it on paper.
Mm-hmm.
But such is life. These are the lessons that I've learned, and that's why the 2 or 3 other projects I've got coming up, I'm working on now, are going to be much smoother. They won't take nearly as long, is because I've bludgeoned myself the hard way. It's true too, because it's just your time that you spend on it. It's just your time and your efforts, and
I hear you.
You learn the hard way.
I know that when I write editorials or I write articles that I have in local paper, is that it's always the best to print it off and go through it, as I can never edit. I can never.
God bless
edit
you
it.
for doing that.
Are you being sarcastic?
No, I'm being serious because
never know.
All right, usually I'm sarcastic, but not today. Not today.
Usually.
Thanks. Usually, yeah. So I'm a little guarded.
Mostly sarcastic.
I like the fact that you keep telling me when I bitch and complain about something that's going on in the government or in local offices that something sickens me, you're like, say something about it, do something about it, and I never do, because I don't think anything's going to change, I feel like
it's cathartic. That's why I do it. I know it's not going to matter, and I know I'll get a bunch of people who go, "Yeah, good for you. I agree with you totally." And I have a bunch of people that think, "I'm a complete asshole." But it's more of just me getting it off my chest.
Yeah,
and that's the most cathartic part for me.
Primal screaming about something that angers you.
Thank you very much, Aaron Bunce. Way to work that in.
You like that
started the Primal Scream before we started the Primal Scream.
Primal screaming.
That's right. It just makes me feel better. I'm with you. I know it doesn't really do necessarily any good, but I mean, it's just one of those things that if you have thoughts, and I think we've talked to Rock about this, you have good ideas, you need to do something with it. You can't just keep talking about it. You got to try to do, even if it is just write an editorial, say this is my point of view, and I've got to get it out there.
Yeah,
it helps.
Yeah, but you got to believe that if you get your voice out there, you get your thoughts out there, it's going to influence somebody.
Sure.
Even if 5 people read it, 5 people understand it, 2 of them love it, 3 of them hate it, you've influenced 2 people. And even you may have influenced all 5 of the people. You may have approached a side of that particular topic that they hadn't even considered before. So
it's the first time I've ever gotten involved in like trolling the comment sections, man. Yeah. Holy cow. And it's just funny too, because they're easily dismissed to me, because the people who really have something to say will say, I don't agree with it because of this. I think you're wrong because of this. And the other ones are like, fuck you, you're gay.
Yeah, better than
Ron Paul, 2012 or something. That's all.
Why would you attach that with Ron Paul?
You're gay. You've never seen?
I've never seen that.
Stephen Colbert does it all the time.
Does he
There's
really?
a person, it must be some douchebag who puts it on. It says, fuck you, or you're gay. Ron Paul, 2012, exclamation point. And I'm just like, giving Ron Paul a pretty bad name.
When we were talking about you might inspire somebody by you doing your editorials, think about how many people you've touched with your writing. I mean, you've inspired your wife, I'm sure, in some degree. Your daughters are going to grow up and say, look what daddy did. You've inspired me to be like, oh, maybe some of my ideas will work. Maybe you dragging me through this process, maybe I'll start writing. Mm-hmm. the young lady at our work who did some of your pictures for the book cover. I mean, all of these people, you have no idea. We might be going to Comic-Con, and I might be wearing chainmail.
Book it. I think it's got to happen anyway. It will be close to water, so there will be sharks. But
oh God,
is that in San Francisco?
San Diego.
Oh, San Diego. Man, it's nice there all the time.
And, that is a neat part about it is that you could include all these people. And like somebody asked me at one point that said, "Well, why do you need all these people to read it?" And it's like, well, this isn't just for my affirmation for people to come back and say, "Oh my God, you're the best writer ever."
Right.
That's not it. But the more eyeballs you can get in a project, the better it will be. The more different perspectives you can get back on it, the more ideas will naturally flow.
Well, because in and of itself, it's a fulfilling thing, I would think. I mean, that is such an accomplishment. I mean, I really think that. I mean,
yeah.
I look forward to reading it, and I've only heard wonderful things about it. But I would assume that the time committed to it, the time away from your family, all the energy that's put into editing and getting things back from people and taking their ideas and putting them in or mixing them into, I mean, that just sounds very fulfilling as a person. So even if it never ever happened, like, so somebody didn't ever publish it.
Yeah.
You have this thing that enough people have said, this is astounding. And that to me is pretty amazing feat all in of itself.
Yeah.
And looking at the project when I was first writing it, when Matt and I had some conversations, because you're always going to think about, well, can I get it published? It's always one of the topics you got to breach. Well, yeah, I'm trying to get it published. I've tried, albeit way too early in the process. I had the raw product I was trying to push, and it wasn't ready. But in the end, it's something that nobody can take it away from you at this point once you've got it completed. And just to be able to hold like the physical copy of my book with my name on it in my hand, even if I sold 5 copies.
It's a piece of you. I mean, it's pretty amazing. It's you on paper.
Yeah.
It's your idea, your thoughts. It's crazy awesome.
Yeah, there's been a few moments where I've talked to people at my job and I said, here's my fear. In 20 years, I'm going to be in the exact same spot, saying the exact same thing, doing the exact same thing, and I will not have lived my life. That's one of my biggest fears, is that time flies by so quickly. I've already been at my job 5 years. And it seems like a blink of an eye. And what have I done with my time in that 5 years? Have I created anything? Is there anything that I'm like, even if it was furniture, even if it was something where you're like, oh, fuck yeah, I did that. Remember that summer I made that? No, I haven't done that. Whereas Aaron can look back and be like, all that time where people have been at our job for 10
15
years, some people 30 years. And there's so much time. He pretty much wrote this book at work.
Yep.
So he's at work doing his job and also creating something. I just think it's amazing. There's so many people that have said, well, what are you going to do? What are you doing with your life? What am I doing with my life? I just really hope that in some way, shape, or form, those people who are depressed and going, oh, I just hate my life. It's so boring. I don't have time to do anything.
Start a podcast.
Start a podcast. Start reading or writing a book. Oh my God. I think creating this book is one of those, it's one of those fantastical things that you can do, because your imagination, and this is going to seem really weird, but
it's not weirder than anything else you ever said. So go ahead.
Okay.
Feel comfortable. You're in the nest. You're safe.
Aaron has one of the best rape scenes I've ever read.
Now you're just going to kill it for a lot of people out there.
No, I'm not going to go any further because you don't know when the rape scene happens. But for those of you at home are like, okay, rape? Why is a rape scene so good? There's another guy that I work with who has tried his hand at writing. And what I've heard, because I haven't read his book, was that when he wrote a love scene, it was like, ew.
Ick.
It was icky. It was like, oh, did mom just fuck her son? What? It's just icky, gross. Like,
you needed a shower after you read it.
Yeah. That's what was great.
Really good.
When I say I really enjoyed your rape scene, it was written in such a way that it wasn't disgusting, but it made your heart hurt.
Now, was this
had an impact?
Yeah, it was so impactful.
The first one or the second one?
The last one.
Okay.
The last
person.
How many rape scenes are in this book?
Well, I don't know. You're going to have to read the motherfucker.
I know.
I'm not George R.R. Martin, but I'm not going to kill off all my characters. I'll tell you that right now. But I'll put it this way, I wouldn't strictly classify it as young adult. So there's no love triangles and there's no teen angst and teen love, strictly speaking.
And there's no crazy vampire sex where the guy's orgasming for 3 pages.
Yeah. Oh, that was a book series you read, right?
That was a book series I read. And guess where I got that book series? My mom. Awkward. Does anybody else feel hot? I feel hot. Does anybody else feel hot? I'm all right.
Because your mom gave you the book, or because the
No.
Okay, you're creeping me out.
Jesus, I'm not that.
I hope you guys had a nice
disturbed.
talk about that afterwards.
Actually, it's a really weird topic to bring up, but my mom is one of the. I have a very relaxed relationship with my mom, and I had no problem telling her when I lost my virginity back in the day. I remember doing laundry, and she came downstairs. She's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Oh, no. And I told her the whole deal. Done. No big deal.
Well, you have a very good, close relationship with your mom.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah,
she's
she's a good lady.
just not uptight. She's not uptight and creepy.
It's good.
It is good not to have a creepy mom.
Yes.
I would know.
I don't know.
Mine's.
You know what?
Mine can be a little
maybe
out there.
your mom's going to read or hear this podcast and she can say, "Hey, maybe I can sell my porn script." Because Todd's mom, I don't know if you know this or not, she wrote a porn script.
Allegedly. Now, I know.
Where did she get her?
She said that because she's always trying to be edgy and kind of,
Where did she get her motivation?
Always on the cutting edge, I don't know, and I don't want to know.
Do you ever think that maybe she was like in the moment? She's like, "Oh, this would make a good scene." Clickety click.
Wow. Yes, we went there.
Oh, sorry. Jeez.
Get that man a garbage can.
And it's not that I have a problem with my parents having sex and don't have an issue with that. It's just too much. It's just too much with your mom.
I'd have to agree.
It's like
What do you mean? It's too much
you ever heard
with your mom?
This is the best. It's got a great game, which you've probably played, called Which Would You Rather? They give you 2 scenarios. You got to pick one. You have to pick one.
Yes.
His wife, to this day, I've never heard one better. When she said, which would you rather? Sit in a room and watching a porn movie with your parents, or sit in a room and watch a porn movie starring your parents? Does that not just catch your breath? Oh shit, I don't know. Do I have to? You have to pick. You got to pick. And I remember just sitting there. I swear, like sweat broke out on my brow, and I was like, I can't decide. I can't even remember. To this day, right now, I'm not sure still what I would pick.
It's so disturbing. My wife's so great at that.
She is fantastic.
It's disturbing.
So the third option, that would be what? A brain aneurysm?
Maybe.
Yeah. Hit your head in the hammer over and over again.
You win the game. I lose.
That's right. I'm a loser.
I'm out. It took you a while to get the first one done.
Yeah.
And you said, you kind of worked through the trials and tribulations of that. And you want to use my idea as a palate. Listen to this. He wants to use my book idea as a palate cleanser.
In between his
disturbing
novels?
is that? He's so good at writing that he wants to take a break and go, should probably just take a break. I need a palate cleanser. Oh, let me jump over to this totally other subject and just write on that for a while. Boop-a-doo. And now I'm done with that. I'm cleansed. Let's get back to the other book. I don't know how you would keep it all straight in your head.
Well, yeah. Well, sometimes I don't. That's why there was a rewrite for the first book. Is like, oh wait, yeah, this is wrong. Okay, glad I fixed that before somebody else read it, because I think that I'm an idiot.
You know what I wonder is, this is on the same subject of books, but different areas. And my wife, since she read 50 Shades of Grey, is that right?
50 Shades of Grey.
Right.
Sure.
Okay. And those books, she now just kind of enjoys these trashy romance sex novels, right?
Erotica, basically.
Erotica, yeah. And so I know why I look at porn or I read erotica. I think
Oh my
was
God,
it Playboy? Was it like Penthouse Letters back in the day? You used to have like a raunchy
No,
kind
it
of
was
story.
Playboy.
Letters, yeah.
Was it? Okay. I know why I read that.
Well,
You know
you
what
were
I
a
mean?
dude and you wanted to get off.
So I'm saying, I'd love to know what the appeal is of that, because I was on the plane with my wife and I was looking at something. I just happened to look over at her iPad to see what she was reading, and I read like the first paragraph on the page closest to me, and I was like, "Fuck! Do you want to go in the bathroom? want to be part of the Mile High Club? I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome. Who writes stuff like that? And it's a woman author, of course. I'm like, where does she live? What's her husband like? It's like, holy shit. I don't know. What is it for women? Is it, because part of me, that all the visuals and all the things that this woman was talking about on this page of this act that was happening, I was like, I know I did for me, happened right there in 2.5 seconds. I wonder what it does for, women said 50 Shades of Grey allowed them the freedom to think the things that they want is okay. I've heard that feedback from people.
Yeah.
I haven't read it yet, so.
I haven't read it either. I'm just saying I've heard that from women saying it kind of gave us the idea that our sexual fantasies or thoughts were okay too. That we don't have to, we're not weird. We're not, I'm like, men have always thought kind of like that, haven't they? That you're not weird if you like something in particular.
No,
but I think
I might say no, but
universally understood. What I think is kind of interesting about this is when the whole 50 Shades of Grey thing came out, Aaron.
Did we do a podcast? We did a podcast about this, but
yes,
it was one of the ones we scrapped.
Shaking my head.
Yeah.
Are you shaking your head because you thought they were ridiculous books, or what's your thought about it?
No, the premise behind it. It's not erotic is not a new thing, but what she found is she found a way to mass market it to to the general public. Whereas instead of being a fringe genre, which is what erotica is and what it has been, she found a way to spread the appeal. Get more of the what they call it, mommy porn, the stay-at-home moms, maybe the women who are a little more conservative, a little more reserved, who wouldn't just go out and actively seek an erotica book.
Right.
They'll see this because it's marketed differently. So,
oh, interesting. I never thought of it that way. Because I still have all the paperwork and all the information because I am going to put this together someday for something. But he and I were having a conversation about how I was saying how it pissed me off because, I was going to say it pissed me off because I'm sitting next to you and you're reading this smutty book, so why don't you just have sex with me? And then I think you said something, we were in the car, I remember talking about it, and you said something to me about us needing to understand when we're missing something.
Yeah, I think there's a great big misconception of there's a disconnect between how we feel and how they feel, how women feel. And for whatever reason, we can't just have this conversation, whether it's a power trip, whether it's women not truly knowing what they want, or whether it's what they want, we don't want.
Right.
And we don't truly want to hear the truth. So I don't know what it is, but we thought, you know what? We should do a survey. We should write a book. We should do a big, huge survey, try to get a survey out
50
there.
Shades of Reality. Trademark.
50 Shades of Reality.
Wouldn't that be a great book? 50 Shades of Reality. I still think that is like a great title for a book.
Now people can't get the survey still, can they?
It's off. Oh, the survey itself is off. But we only had 60 responders, and we had a couple outliers that were just crazy. And I couldn't tell whether it was like a college kid who had found it and got on, done some fucking crazy thing. But we did have a gal. We were really like promoting it. And then we were at Buffalo Wild Wings, I think, watching football one day on a Sunday. And this kind of hot little waitress was talking to us. And I said, hey, do you mind taking a survey? And I gave her the address and gave it to her. And I said, give it to your friends and get them on there. And so we had its age. The demographics are pretty all across, so we can really narrow down who it was. And so we had a really good chunk of women that were from like 35 to 38, kind of in there. We had a chunk of really young women that were like in their early 20s, mid 20s. We had some women that were in their 50s and 60s, which I can only assume is my mother and some other friends. And then, we gave them a chance at the end to talk about when did you ever feel the sexiest, or whatever made you feel a certain way. We gave them chances to kind of give us stories, and we had 60 people respond. And I still think it'd be worth putting it together and just saying, from a small snippet of people, and it was mostly Midwest and then a couple on the other coasts, that I thought, you know what, that might be interesting, at least to guys. I told Matt that I heard one story in there, and it was this woman talking about having sex with her husband and she's like, the worst thing in the world is when he's drunk. It's just brutal because it just lasts forever, and he's not very caring, and it just, he's all, his weight's all on top of me, and and so I literally was like, oh shit, I'm not doing that. I don't think it's been a lot of times that's happened, but maybe first I was like, it snapped into me. I was like, oh man, I should probably be aware of that. I'm horny as hell if I've got too much to drink. may not be that great of a ride, for her. And that made me stop and go, okay, I'm going to make sure that I don't do that because it's not supposed to be some uncomfortable, shitty thing for both, for her.
Yeah,
and so,
it's never supposed to be that.
Right. So that's why it made me think about it, though. When you're drunk, you're not even thinking about it. You're just like, we don't have sex.
I know for a fact I've never had drunk sex with my current wife. Not once.
Never.
But have you had drunk sex when she's drunk?
No.
Bullshit.
No, I never have.
Your wife has never been drunk when you've had sex with her.
No.
Because
one, we don't know our limits very well.
You
and
usually sleep and
we
passed out.
talk. We love to talk a big game, especially when we're around all our neighbors and everybody's getting drunk. And she'll say something crazy, ridiculous, like she's gonna just destroy me and my penis is gonna hurt the next day. Something crazy. And then when everybody goes home and everything's done with, it's like, oh fuck, I'm so tired. I'm so bloated from all the beer I drank. I just good night. Don't touch me. Good night. That's just the way it is.
Sorry, honey, I'm gassy. Don't touch me.
I absolutely know, beyond a shadow of a doubt. I'll put money on it. It doesn't matter. Anytime that we drink, it's not happening. Now, I've said that to other people, and they go, I can't believe you've never had drunken sex. That's the best sex to have. I heard that from a lady. I've also heard people get crazy and be like, how can you have never had sex in a car? I just haven't.
You have to make that happen.
I don't know why I would want to make that happen.
Because it's fun and different.
Yeah, take it mobile.
It's fun.
Aaron, take it mobile.
Yeah.
Does it have to be a minivan, or should I just make it really uncomfortable and like rent like a little?
I think part of it.
European
I think
car.
it's like you say. It's not. You're not trying to. What can we do? We need to shake things up. It's just like if you're driving down the road and you're going somewhere, you're like, feeling a little frisky. How you feeling? Oh, me too. I know I have a gravel road over here. Let's park over there.
Yeah.
It just happens. I don't think you have to like plan it out and say, hey, let's find a nice big car we can take so we can lay down in the back seat and enjoy each other. I mean, it's like it's spontaneous.
Well, I didn't mean it like that. Usually I drive a van.
Yeah.
So
the minivan might kill the mood.
it might.
If you're kicking kids' toys out of the way, trying to make space in the back, that might
There's
kill it for you.
Cheerios stuck to my ass. Come on.
Who the fuck ate Cheerios in the back of the van? Did you give them Cheerios? And then we just start fighting, and then they wouldn't happen.
But I think that 50 Shades of Reality would be fun to do just to see what would happen.
Yeah, and I didn't think it was going to be like a real big, thick.
No, it was almost like a user's manual, a guy's user manual.
I thought it was going to be, honestly, I thought it was going to be more of a funny storybook. Like guys would read, or ladies would buy maybe for their guys, but I'm sure ladies would read it and go, "Oh my god, I totally associate myself with woman number 47."
Right.
That's how I.
Or I've had a situation like that happen, just like that, or I totally agree with that. Yeah, I think that would be
maybe I'll highlight this story so that when I give it to my husband, he pays more attention.
Dog ear it, and put it by the toilet.
So she.
Honey, what are you reading?
She hated it when I just kept smacking her. Okay.
Just like when I teabag her? What? All the guys in college said that was fun.
The Dutch oven thing is so funny. That's not sexy. Flatulence. I mean, I know it's natural, but it's not sexy.
I can honestly say it's only happened I've only done it in front of my wife, like a couple times accidentally.
Farted?
Wow. Part of me is just like, this gets kind of gross. Why would I want her to smell my shit? That's how I feel about it. That's just me.
That's true. No, when you break it down
so
like
it's not,
that.
So I'm not trying to say that I'm I don't feel very comfortable around her. I'm more saying like, I don't think that's okay for me. My dogs are bad enough. The last thing I need to do is add to that mess, right? This is the way I think about it. I'm not trying to be a prude. I'm just saying.
No, yeah. I wouldn't think you're a prude. There's people that I know that one lady that I know in particular, she will not shit anywhere but her own place, and she will not go to the restroom with the door open. She cannot. She's not going to break the illusion that her boyfriend has of her. He's not. There's a sexy appeal to her that he has for her, and she's not going to let him see the darker side.
The real human being person that lives in the house.
Hey, dude, you're giving me this squinty-eyed look, and you're not farting around your lady.
But I shit in the same house.
I know, but it's not very far off. It's the same premise of
You think me choosing not to let my wife smell my flatulence means that is the same as a woman who will not shit anywhere, will not shit at home because she's afraid that her image.
I think it falls within the same category.
I think you're crazy.
I think there's two separate spectrums of the same category. I think it's the same category for sure.
Wow. Does she not get dressed in front of him? Does she keep the light off and make sure he can't see any imperfections? Or
I don't think there are any imperfections.
Oh, hey.
So I don't think she has to worry about that so much. But yeah, I don't think it's wrong necessarily. But when what's wrong? You okay?
I'm fine. Go ahead.
Did you have some stomach pain?
No.
Did you have some flatulence? Did you want to take care of yourself?
I was reading something.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to take some flatulence right here, right now. You bastard. Go ahead.
I think that there's something about when you first start dating somebody.
Well, sure.
You look at them and you don't think of them farting and making all these crazy noises, eating like a pig, and all this nastiness that is being a human being. There's part of that. It's just not very sexy. But there's people that work really hard. They want to keep that side of them, that image of them, in a separate place. I think that's okay.
Well, I think we all put our best foot forward when we're dating and those kind of things. That kind of makes sense to me until you get to know somebody better and you feel more comfortable.
Yeah, you're guarded.
Yeah.
I mean, biologically speaking, you're basically auditioning for a role anyway.
There you go.
If you're sitting there and you're dropping trow and dropping the kids off at the pool and you're stinking up the joint, she may just, hightail out of there and find somebody at the gas station who smells a little better.
It's funny because I think all I think of is Sex and the City used to be on TV. That one of the girls brought a guy home that she had been seeing for a while, and this time he actually stayed overnight. And she woke up and she's in the kitchen cooking, and she turned around and go to the bathroom, and the bathroom door is wide open. There he is, butt naked, sitting on the toilet, taking the shit, and he's got the paper spread out on the floor in front of him, and he's leaning on his knees reading, going, "Hey, good morning, how you doing?" And she just looked at him like way too soon, man. It's just not going to work. And so, I mean, that was a perfect example of like, you have to work your way into it.
Yeah, ease your way into it. Maybe that comes at marriage. Who knows?
And I mean, and at the same time, my wife has never come in the bathroom with me when I'm taking the dump. Who wants to be in a bathroom with somebody? I never gone in the bathroom with her when she's doing that. Oh my God. It's kind of one of those things you don't want to be part of. Even if you love somebody and they're an intricate part of your life, you want to avoid some of those things.
How did we get on bathroom etiquette?
No idea.
Bathroom etiquette.
That's why this was called the rabbit hole at one point, because we go way, way down it.
Yeah.
One
minute we're really promoting Aaron's book and we're blowing him this way and that because
and then we're talking about flatulence.
That's our maturity level. Congratulations. No. Hey, you know what's a good thing though? Have we talked about anything negative? Have I ranted about anything government? Nothing, right?
You know why?
Are you happy?
I'm very happy. I think why we haven't done it, we've about exhausted ourselves of it. Do you know what I mean? We're frustrated, we're angry about things, but at this point, what can we do to just keep talking and talking and talking?
Dude, you know what we should be talking about? Because we've pretty much we've douched Aaron with all of our love for his book.
Mm-hmm. Oof. Go ahead. I could have thought of a much better metaphor than that.
That's a really bad image.
It's horrible. Go ahead.
I need a shower.
You meant it the best way possible.
This is the part that I play. That's my uniqueness.
You're the color, huh?
Christmas, everybody.
Oh yeah,
Christmas.
Are we taking this downtown then? We're not happy about it.
Downtown Charlie Brown.
Downtown Chinatown.
Downtown Chinatown.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Aaron, I want to know about your. How's everything going for Christmas? How you feeling about Christmas this year?
Yeah.
There's your answer.
I'm gonna go type.
Sons of bitch.
Well, I mean, I've been out Christmas shopping once. The whole money, you're broke, you can't afford to spend what you want on people. And then B, it's just, going out shopping this time of year is such an exhausting experience for me anyway.
On any day.
People are rude. Things are always sold out you want to get. The things are never on sale in the stores like they are online, and they won't match the online prices. Bastards.
I just think it's just hard because anything that would have been a normal kind of easy thing to do any time of the day, it's busy. Any road you're on, it's busy because people are out doing shit.
That's the beautiful thing of online shopping. But that, again, on one side, that's awesome. On the other side, if everybody did online shopping, all the fucking stores would close.
Right.
You know, there is some greatness, some importance to window shopping. Getting people out to the malls.
Part of me enjoys walking around the mall and window shopping. I mean, I do like that part. I'm with you though. If it's not too goddamn crazy, you can actually go and enjoy yourself. You know, but it's just when it's just packed. When it's just packed to the gills and you're bumping into people, and I start finding myself getting so pissed off at the stupidest things. Like I was in a mall in San Antonio when Junior graduated from boot camp, and I just from the mass amount of people that were there, it was a very nice mall. People walking on the wrong side of if you're walking in the mall, right, you should be walking this way on the right side and this way. The mall should be kind of flowing.
Yeah, don't
right?
swim upriver.
Everybody, it's like both sides are just fucking bashing into each other, the whole goddamn thing. And so eventually I'm like, buddy, let's just get over to the side. We just hooked over next to the stores and just walked along the edge so we can get out of these people, just nobody paying attention to anybody else and just bashing into each other and bumping into each other and people getting pissed off and angry. And I'm like, we need to go.
Yeah.
Let's go to Starbucks and let's get the fuck out of here. I can't.
Well, you see on the news every year, people get trampled to death. It was Toys R Us a couple of years ago. We went out Black Friday shopping. I think it was 5 or 6 years ago. Best Buy had some pretty good specials. So we took off first thing in the morning. You know, it's still cold and dark outside. And we got into Collins Road in Cedar Rapids, and somebody had been in such a hurry to get out that they actually flipped their SUV in the middle of a 2-lane highway, and the car was just sitting there. It's like, all right, people, it's going to be there when you get there.
And
just
they were out of their SUV and they were in line. They just left it. Hey, we're okay.
Yeah, there was
broken leg.
Yeah, there was nobody there with the car. So,
And see, I was at Starbucks, I think, last Saturday, and I looked over and Best Buy's across the street, and there was a huge line out of it. And I was like, is today another special day I'm not aware of? And somebody said that they got a new shipment of Xbox Ones or PS4s or whatever they are, the big thing this year. So
this year's stories was the taser, someone getting tased by another shopper, and a woman stabbing and killing 3 other women with a Phillips screwdriver for an Xbox One.
You can see in videos of a guy just barreling into somebody and just throwing punches at people, women, whoever else might be around, just so he can get in there as fast as possible. The hard part is that stuff is, it's terrible that we have instances like that, but I would assume that a majority of the time things go rather smoothly, I would hope.
You'd hope. What? Well, I kill people off in my books, but it's bad when you can look at real life and you got people getting stabbed at football games and getting stabbed on Black Friday over video game systems.
And see, this is my absolute hands down favorite part of the year. I love Christmas. I'm one of those horrible people.
Crazy.
I put my Christmas lights up before Thanksgiving. I just love the feel of the season. I know a part of that is because I grew up so all over the place that I never feel like I had anywhere solid to actually sit and enjoy Christmas. And even as when I got divorced the first time and was out of the family that I had been part of, that was very big on Christmas and family, that feeling of loss. I was always trying to recover that. And so now I just love the time of year. I like just the feeling I have of coming downstairs and seeing my tree and my Christmas lights and the decorations I've put up. I just like the feeling of that.
I'm the same way. I
don't have to buy anything necessarily. I just like the feeling of it.
Yeah.
Do are you before Thanksgiving or after?
It depends on the year. This year we had a lot going on. I work with Matt. Obviously, our work schedule's goofy, although I work at night, so it's a little hectic. Working the complete opposite schedule as my wife.
Oh, I bet.
So, some years you don't get a chance to get them out right away.
I thought you were going to say like when I'm working on 2 chapters or something.
Well, that too.
I just leave my lights up year round.
Yeah, that's why your house is known as the party house in the neighborhood. Christmas lights are on. Let's go over to Matt's house.
Oh my God. Yeah, my neighbors give me a really hard time about that. And the snow started to fly, and it wasn't. It was really cold. It was before Thanksgiving, and my neighbor was up on his roof putting his Christmas lights up. I go, sucks being you.
That's where you walk out your front porch with your cup of coffee and you just give them a little wave and walk back inside.
Yeah.
Who's freezing their buns off now?
That's right.
I love Christmas. I love the idea of Christmas, but we've transformed it into something that is it's kind of ugly, where my family is concerned and the people around me is concerned. Is I don't see, or what I do see is people saying you got to have X amount of presents. We need to spend this much money. What I heard today on the radio was this new kind of payday loan thing. It wasn't payday loans. It wasn't them. It was something new. Okay. So you could come. I know times are tough. I mean, part of the commercial goes, I know times are tough, and payday loans isn't the way for you because you have to pay them back right away. And sometimes with that interest, it really can make things difficult during the holiday season. So come to this new loan place and fill out a loan, and you can take all year to pay it back. Happy holidays.
Yeah.
You know, it's just
Borrow 1,000, pay back 10.
Yeah, so next
fuck.
Christmas, when you still haven't paid off last Christmas shopping, you can take out more money for this Christmas.
Exactly.
The cycle will never end.
That's right.
I got a A for a book there.
Sad. It's just so sad. How about the message of this? You know what? Times are tough. And if you can't afford a new gaming system or any of that shit, just spend time with your family and have like a special moment, special couple days, get together and hang out. You don't have to buy people shit. I know it's anti-capitalism, but just for a few days, just chill out and have fun with one another.
But I think have not been in a cycle of poverty for a lot of years since I was a child. But having parents who were on welfare and us living really, not very high on the hog, the idea of like getting a book, or the idea, I remember Christmas being like one present, and everybody else was getting all the fancy stuff at the time. I was getting one thing, and I was happy with that one thing. And so now I think of, okay, worst case scenario, I don't have any money for anybody, and I can't buy an Xbox or a PlayStation or whatever thing that they want that costs a lot of money. I know I can go to Half Price Books. They have awesome kids stuff there, or they have great DVDs that are, inexpensive. I can find something if I feel the need to have to give something to somebody. There's just so much stuff to buy that doesn't require you to spend an exorbitant amount of money. You can keep it simple. That's why I think that the idea of being with your family is a great one, but it is a time of giving. So get something simple.
Yeah. There's more meaning to that gift when you do it that way.
Absolutely. We've told our families that if you're going to get our kids something, get them, my mom always goes fucking bonkers at Christmas time. And I get literally 6 boxes arrive at my house. Just full of stuff. And some of it we just throw away because it's just stuff that we're just never going to use, or it's not okay. It's like really crappy, or it breaks within a couple minutes and it's done. But we've told people this year, if you want to get them a piece of get them an article of clothing, get them a book, and then get them a toy. If you're going to get them 3 things, and make sure one of them is just not all stuff. Because first of all, they make those goddamn toys theft proof. And you have to get out the fucking automatic screwdrivers and your Sawzall to get the goddamn things out of there.
Yeah.
So it's like, just give them one toy, get them a cool Niners t-shirt from San Francisco, and give them a cool book and keep it simple, And that's a gift that you said, like you said, it has some value to it.
You know what I thought was real interesting? One holiday season, I thought, I'm going to take the high road. I'm not going to be one of those dads that just gives my kids tons of shit. I'm going to try to be a little highbrow this year. So I told my dad, instead of buying my kids stuff that I'm just going to take to Goodwill in a few months, because, hey, we're not going to use it. It's just something to unwrap. Why don't you give money towards a music lesson or something like that? And you know what he said? Well, if that's where you're going to be, we're just not going to get him anything.
Well, you hurt his feelings.
I want to give them something that they can unwrap, and they can't unwrap music lessons. That's not fun. I can't see a glimmer in a child's eye when they unwrap music lessons. All right, fuck. And guess how many music lessons have we got? None.
There's a commercialism for you right there, though. We're so inundated with this need to give and need to shop and need to buy and need to give. The meaning of the holidays changed significantly for everybody. And I've got praise for people that can keep it about family and keep it about the connection and the time together. But I mean, you can't watch TV for 5 minutes or listen to the radio for 5 minutes and not just be inundated with all these commercials and be saturated by it.
Right.
And then you have this false expectation where you've got to give all this stuff, and you have to get your kids talk with all the other kids at school. They have to have all these things. My daughter is 6.5, and she's already asked for a laptop and a cell phone and a tablet.
Dude, I gave Todd such a hard time last year because his kids got iPads.
That's it, though. That's all they got.
Well,
They got one nice gift from us.
Yeah.
All they got was one good gift.
They got iPads. And I thought, I just gave them, I was relentless. I would just constantly, dude, they're 8 years old. They're 9 years old, whatever. They're young. How can you even imagine your parents giving you or spending that much money, period, on 20 gifts? No. We're going to give a child a really expensive like computer. But I have to eat my words. What am I doing this year?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
He's eating his words.
That was the big thing. My kids were like, I want an iPod Touch. I want a tablet. I want this. I want that. And none of it was simple.
You got one of your kids a Kindle Fire last year. That's the same thing.
No, they got.
She bought it herself.
It was her birthday. It was she got money for her birthday because she told people that were coming to her birthday party, I just want a Kindle Fire, so I have to earn money for a Kindle Fire. I thought I was going to really be instilling this great lesson on my daughter. It's going to take time. You're going to have to suffer. You're going to have to save money. It's going to take some time.
Would it take her a week?
No, it took her that fucking day.
She got enough.
That day she earned, she gathered in enough money. People were still there. People hadn't even left yet. And she's like, can I go get my Kindle Fire now? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? All right. I didn't say that to a 9-year-old, but I was close to saying, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. My wife's like, yeah, she's got enough. She has $15 more than what she needs. Yeah. Great lesson.
Enough for some apps.
There you go.
A few apps.
Future.
Well, what we tried to do is we were along the same lines. You don't want to give an expensive piece of machinery to a child like that.
Right.
So we talked with my dad, and he bought 2 OtterBox cases for them. So those were $100 a piece, those fucking things. And so they've both, they take really good care of them, but there have been a couple drops. And I'm like, that's why you got that goddamn case on there.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the OtterBox.
And even when they drop it, like, but I have OtterBox, and I don't care. You better take better care of that goddamn thing.
Yeah.
Don't be dropping it.
In a few years, you can still sell it.
Yeah, exactly.
To me. For my kid.
Yeah, there you go. You can inherit it. I'm like, we got the new one.
Because Todd's kid had an iPad before Matt did.
That's right. Well, here's Junior for you. We get all of our kids an iPad last year. What's Junior do? I'm not going to use it, Dad. You can take it back. And I'm like, you don't want an iPad. You don't want an iPad? And he's like, I just don't know when I'm going to use it. I have a laptop. That's what I use for it. I was like, I know. I have a laptop and I have an iPad. I use them both all the time. I'm good with the laptop. I'm like, freaking sweet. That's $400 off my bill. Thank you very much. He did ask for a phone. We got him a phone. But nowadays they give phones away when you hook up a plan. So it's like, we got off super easy. But I still was like, it was the first time I ever was shocked by his behavior.
Like, he's not a child anymore.
Wow, he doesn't. He was just thinking, I just don't have a need for it. So why should I have it if it's just going to sit there? I was like, oh, I appreciated it, actually.
Yeah, I think that would make me pass out if my kids. I can't even imagine my kids going, nah, Dad, I don't really need that Xbox game.
He is 18.
I know. But for how many years? For 17 years, you never heard anything like that come out of his mouth. And then it just floors you. Do you want to know what I think would be a great Christmas present? If you went to Aaron Bunce's website, checked it out. Because there's some sample chapters. What's new on your website, Aaron?
Just last night, I got there is a sample chapter uploaded. Go to the website, aaronbunce.com. Off the main menu, I've got it says within, the name of the book. Go to the page, I've got the synopsis, which I'm very proud of, by the way. Down below that says to download sample chapter, click here. You click on that, and I've got it pulls it up as a PDF, and it is downloadable off that. It's a full chapter. It is probably one of my favorite side characters in the whole book. He just kind of, the first time I wrote the book, he had quite literally, maybe a paragraph in the entire book. Now, his name is Balin. He's this slippery little rogue fella, and he had a paragraph. He had a paragraph, and I got to the end of the book, and I'm like, well, I got to go back and rewrite it because there's so much that had changed from the end to when I first started writing it that I had to go back and I had to make sure it all made sense. It was all cohesive. And I liked him so much that I wrote him his own side story, and I love it. I love the side story. It's action-packed. It's exciting.
So you can't publish. You haven't got a publisher yet. How do ebooks work? If you put it onto a PDF file, can you just sell it to people?
You can sell it on your own if you want.
Can you? Okay.
And the only problem with that is how do you reach the people to sell it? How do you get the exposure for your product?
Sure.
Which is the main reason why you hear a lot about the Amazon publishing is the biggest and like the independent, the self-publishing. But even they have a slush pile. The slush pile is all the stuff that hasn't quite met their standards, or they haven't. It's not that first run where they get it and it's so good they want it as published. So they kind of throw it on the slush pile, and then eventually they'll go through and pick through there, and they'll pick some other books out and publish them. But you hear a lot about that, and I didn't want to. I figured I spent this much time working on the book. I had that much faith in the story. I wanted to go the traditional route. I wanted to go the traditional publishing route, which was find a literary agent and try to go through one of the publishing houses to get it published. And I still do. I have even more faith with the project now than I did when I first started writing it.
Awesome.
Well, like I said before, when I had finished my original writing, I actually started querying agents at that point. I think I set 10 queries out. And of course, any author is going to tell you that every published book is built on this foundation, this bedrock of rejection letters.
Right.
I mean, all your most famous authors have been rejected. You read some good interviews of Stephen King and James Patterson and Tom Clancy. They've all had rejection letters. But the book was nowhere near ready to be published.
When you sent out like a synopsis of what your idea was, or what your book's idea was going to be, or how's that work?
That's usually if you're going to write specific like fiction. If you have like an idea for fiction, some agents will let you send an idea or a synopsis, or you try to sell them on an idea for a book. But if you're selling it to an agent, especially nonfiction, they all have their own special requirements. So they want the query letter, which the query letter, if you've never written a query letter, it hurts your brain because you got to cook down however many pages you got in your book down, and
a lot. It sounds
into specifically about three paragraphs, because the entire query letter cannot be longer than a page. You basically have to shop your book. You got to shop yourself, and you have to make each query letter individualized to the agent. You got to make it feel like I didn't just pick your name out of a listing along with 50 other names and sent you guys the same one. This is specifically why I think that you are meant to represent me. So there's quite a bit of time spent in sending these query letters out. So I would spend hours crafting these query letters. And then, each publishing or each agency has different requirements about what they want submitted.
Okay.
We want a 1-page summary. We want a 2-page summary. We just want the query letter, or we want the first 50 pages of the book. We want the first 50, 500 words, 5,000 words. So there's quite a bit of time associated with setting up each of these submissions.
Wow.
So I did that,
Holy
and
cow.
That was before I really had people reading it. And I said, you know what? Like with any product, it needed a beta. So Matt was the first beta reader.
The guinea pig.
The guinea pig. He was a good guinea pig though, because you feed him a couple alfalfa pellets every once in a while, and he stayed happy.
Well, I think I would jump at the chance if I had somebody who was like, "Hey, will you do me a favor and see what you think about this?" I mean, it's almost a gift.
Yeah,
kind of.
Didn't Rod do that with what was the book that he wrote?
I can't remember, but it was like a biker book, and he went to Sturgis. It was this guy who was kind of like a rebel. I think he was Native American, and I wish I remember the story. I remember reading the book, going, "This is really, really great." And he had a couple, really, I thought were pretty cool sex scenes in there, and it was kind of like this guy who came across as this really hardcore dude, but inside he was really kind of a pacifist, kind of like a laid back guy, but also had the capacity to be violent when he needed to be. But he's also a biker. So it almost was like a book that he wrote as like an extension of himself. Like, I wish I could be like this guy.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I took the book.
Well, those are the best characters though. I mean, in some way or another, most of the characters in my books were inspired by, the people in our lives, the people in my life, the things that I wish I could be, the things that, or the weaknesses you see in yourself. Because I think that characters need to be relatable. If they aren't relatable, then people are going to start reading it and say, wow, these characters are, they're not very realistic for starters, but you want them to keep going, to keep reading it. You want them to get an attachment to the characters and to like them, to have an association with them.
I think that's why redemptive stories are so I find so appealing, whether they're movies or books, is people who have done shitty, horrible things or started out badly and were able to pick themselves up and change stuff. That's why people hate this movie, but The Royal Tenenbaums, I love that movie. Gene Hackman is this plays this goofy dad who all of his kids hate, but towards the end of the movie, he's at an older age when all of his kids are grown people and they all just think he's just a horrible human being. He starts reflecting on himself and starts to change. And I just love the last 15, 20 minutes of that movie that it's just this arc happens all of a sudden and he starts becoming, a bit much more redemptive character. And I think it's because we can recognize that we all want to have that capacity in our lives to change something or become better people. And I think that's why the appeal is there.
When I started writing, I started thinking, I don't know how to associate this with other characters. To keep everything straight, I'm just going to use the names of my own family. So then as I started writing this stuff out, I thought, if anybody reads this, it's going to sound like I'm really fucked up in the head. I mean, it's said to me, it's a fragile state that almost any writer could put themselves into. And then to say, could you read this? Because like I said, there's that other person that we work with who tried their hand at writing, and I tip my hat to him that he even tried, but the response back from his writing was like, ew. And that, to me, that would just destroy me.
Well, and part of me thought that you start something and it's a little off. I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. Like maybe writing a rape scene or something like that. And then I always have to stop and say, have you ever read a Stephen King book? I mean, the shit that comes out of that guy's brain.
Yeah.
You're just like, holy. I mean, unfortunately, your first thought is like, it's kind of a warped dude, but he's a very normal guy. He's just got a very creative, very imaginative person. But I mean, I think sometimes it can be scary. That's a good question for you, Aaron. Can it be scary to put some of those things out there that are kind of edgy and kind of like, oh, we don't want, rape is kind of a taboo thing. But I mean, obviously it's important for a plot in a book, so it needs to be in there.
It can be terrifying. Matt can attest to this because I was approaching the scene where I needed to have this. I guess I don't want to spoil it, but it was essentially it's like a rape scene. I've got a female character who's it's a very significant event happens, not only for her but for the main character that she has an association with. So I mean, it was vital to her development, to his development, into the continuation of the story. But the scope, just the idea of this scene and something this vile, this evil and this dirty, it kind of bothered me. And I was writing it, and I'm like, if it bothers me this much writing it, is it going to bother people to read it? So it was by far the portion of the book that took me the longest to write. Because I troubled over it, and I would write it, and I would second guess myself, and I'd go back and I'd change it. I'd water it down a little bit, and I'm like, okay, well, can I approach it in a different way, in a different light? Can I change perspectives on this a lot? Because anyone that reads it will see I like to change perspective a lot. And it keeps it fresh, keeps it moving. Anytime you break perspective, you can approach things from a different angle, and you can widen the lens of a story.
Sure.
It was really hard. It was really the only thing I had, and there are certain characters that will die off during the natural progression of the story. But I didn't go into it intentionally saying, well, this is my quota for characters I got to kill off. I got to give George Martin a run for his money here. I got to make sure I kill off this many people, and these people have to be put in these bad situations. It was just after the story starts rolling, it's kind of like pushing a ball down a hill. After you get a good enough start and it starts rolling, it goes on its own. And it's neat writing the book. For me, it was almost like I was the first reader, because you'd kind of get into these, I don't want to call it a fit, but these frames of mind where you're writing, and you're going. And it doesn't feel like you're actually actively coming up with this stuff.
Oh, okay.
You get into this, your imagination kind of kicks into overdrive, and it starts working on its own.
You don't sit back and enjoy reading the story. You're writing it. That makes complete sense.
Yeah, and I've always been my own biggest critic. So from the time where I was very young writing all my stuff, I would usually read the stuff I wrote, and I would hate it because I'm a huge critic. I'm a perfectionist. It's got to be perfect. And I would read my stuff and I'd hate it, right? And I tried writing a book. I've actually still got most of it. I started years ago, which I'm still planning on finishing now that I kind of got my legs underneath me. But this one was the first project I've ever had where I wrote it, and I could go back through and I would genuinely enjoy reading it. And that's what told me at that point, like, okay, maybe this is the kind of project that I could, market to other people.
Sure.
That if I enjoy reading it, and if I enjoy reading my own writing, then there's a good chance that you or other people out there sit on a bookshelf and maybe they want to read it. Maybe they would enjoy it.
Sure.
So that was it.
My next question was, do you have any formal training in this? Did you go to college for this? Is there, or part of your high school growing up, you always love short story writing and things like that? Or
my folks were big when I was younger. Earlier in school, I was pulled out as one of the, I don't know if they call it the advanced program or the exceptional program, where they pull kids out who they were more advanced in a particular subject. And reading and writing was always mine. So I always was 2 or 3 levels ahead reading and writing. And then I got a chance to go to Cornell College in Mount Vernon 2 straight years and do writers' conferences. That was really neat. And then later on, it was just, when I went to college, it was just the creative writing classes, the comp 2,
So the answer is yes.
The answer is yes. The long form.
That's good.
Well, that's good. I mean, he could have just said yes. Oh, really? And let me drag some more out.
What kind of, does Cornell have something kind of like the Iowa Writers Workshop where you can go to conferences and do stuff like that?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm not sure they do it anymore, but back in the day, when I was in school, it was the Young Writers Workshop.
Oh, cool.
And they'd send, I don't know, 5th, 6th, 7th graders, some kids even younger, they'd send them, they'd work on, narrative, character, story
sweet.
progression. It was a really neat experience. It changed me because, at that age, you're very impressionable.
Sure.
And it told me that, okay, well, maybe this is something that I can do. Maybe it's something that I'm good at. Because at that point, I wasn't good at math. I surely wasn't good at science, stuff like that. So it was nice to actually have a topic where it was something that I excelled at.
Sure.
And I've read or written over the years short stories here and there. I tried writing this book, which I still have, and like I said, I plan on finishing it. Years ago, I started it, but this is the first time where I said, "All right, this is something you enjoy doing. Like, sit down and make something out of it." Kind of like you guys had Chuck on. That was a really neat podcast. Let's talk about his leather work, right? Something you enjoy doing. Take advantage of your passion for it, and if something comes out of it, you know what? You get a tangible product afterwards.
Right.
Awesome. And it happens. It's, it may sound cliche, but it feels very organic. When you get into a writing frame of mind, you get working on a novel and you get into it, it does. It feels very, very organic. You don't feel like you're forcing it anymore. The characters feel natural. You don't have to work hard to come up with characters' names. You kind of come up with these characters just on the whim.
I could totally picture not having to go back and read again because you're not reading it while you're writing it. It's kind of almost like free form, putting things down.
Yeah.
And so you have to go back and kind of relive it. I can see how you could enjoy to go back and reread something because, yeah, that's kind of a neat perspective though.
Well, and there's 2 ways to do it. There's 2 styles of writing. There's the pantsers, which write by the seat of their pants, and then there's storyliners, the people who they meticulously research and then they storyline out their stories. And I didn't storyline any of the first book. When I started writing it, I had one particular scene that just came into mind. It was inspired by this song. It was just called the Genesis moment, where it just kind of like popped in, and I got to write. I started writing it, and I finished that scene, and and then the rest of the story just started to pop in bit by bit, and I started writing it. And before I knew it, the story was expanding, and I finished that first draft, and I wrote so much. I think I wrote the entire first draft in less than 6 months. And it was 100,000 words. I mean, it was 300 and some pages in Word. It was.
I remember him saying it's just getting bigger. It's getting bigger.
Yeah, and then Matt read it. He was the first one that actually read it because my wife's in school and she doesn't have really any free time, especially with our 2 kids. But he read it and he's like, "Okay, it's good, but it feels like you got the wireframe of a story here, and it's got this. It's got this potential. You need to go inside. You need to fill it out. You need to finish it up.
Sure,
like it needs."
So, did your wife always know you wanted to be an author? Is that something that she's always been aware of? And
yeah, and she's been real awesome. She's been really supportive.
When you got to that point where you're like, "Honey, I think I'm gonna do some research. I want to make some chainmail," because you were so into your book and the characters and how did you want the characters to look, and you were having that visual in your head. You started getting kind of psyched about making medieval costumes.
Yeah.
Junior does that. He gets those little aluminum rings and just rings things together and made a T-shirt.
Yeah,
out of it.
Well, I mean, you read a book when an author's passionate about a particular subject or a time frame, it comes across within the context of the story. You're more knowledgeable about the attire. With fantasy, I mean, it's a fantasy style book. It's not like a Dungeons and Dragons style fantasy. There aren't wizards throwing fireballs all over the place. I tried to make it a little grittier. Mm-hmm. I'd call it a gritty fantasy. I'm not sure if that's authentic, but it's a grittier fantasy.
It's a new genre right there. Gritty fantasy. I like that.
You have to realize magical realism is the big thing right now. People are trying to make magic. They're trying to infuse in their stories, but make it more of a real, tied to real kind of deal. I wanted that fantasy aspect, the fantasy world where there's monsters, there's danger, there's things beyond our understanding now. And the nice thing about that genre is you can play around with it. You want something, you need it, boom, you just write it. It's yours. You're not confined by the things we don't understand now.
And it really is kind of the essence of creativity, because people talk about, manifesting your own destiny kind of stuff. Well, geez, if you write a story or a book, you could literally can do that.
If I wrote a book, the story would never have to end, and I could keep it going whichever way I wanted it to go. And that was the pull for me to want to even start to do it. But I don't have the discipline. I don't have the real strong desire to sit and knock out all those pages, all those words, and I'm not that good at it. So
no, don't undersell yourself. I read some of the stuff you wrote. It was pretty good.
Thanks, pal.
It was.
He's just paying me back for all the nice things I said.
I don't have to. I can be genuine about it. And
we have a hard time taking compliments on this podcast, so it's all right.
But I think that's one of the cool things about this particular tool set or mindset. You can create these worlds. And if you can just sit down and make it make sense, and somebody else can read it, and I would think that today it's harder to come up with very unique characters than it was when who was it who wrote Fellowship of the Ring?
Tolkien. Yeah. Tolkien started the whole thing. He practically wrote the fantasy handbook. If you look at the Dungeons and Dragons game, the handbook, you might as well call it the J.R.R. Tolkien Handbook of Fantasy.
So, before that, there wasn't anything like that. So when he created these things, it was almost, I look back at that and go, that was kind of easy because nobody had come up with anything. Now we're so saturated with characters, all kind of deriving from what he has created. So reading your book and seeing brand new creatures, brand new names of species, and whole new ideas. It's so refreshing because it's been a long time since I've read a book, and since I've been working at this job and reading nonstop for the first few years, I can honestly say it's been a long time since I've read a book and thought, wow, this is brand new. This concept is brand new. These characters are brand new. They're exciting. You don't know what their abilities are. You don't know what's going to happen next. So one chapter to the next, you're just like, oh, is this fucking thing, what's it going to do? Is it going to, the temperature's dropping, there's snow everywhere, there's fucking people wearing masks that are sealed to their faces. What the fuck? It's crazy.
That's crazy.
Well, I think I'm really hoping this podcast gives you some feedback, because I know hearing you talk about it, and I think the hardest part is that hearing Matt talk about it, I was always kind of like, man, I used to read so much all the time, and lately I've been too occupied, but I keep on, this makes me excited to read it. And so I'm hoping that it has the same kind of feedback from people who listen to the podcast. So,
glad to hear.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
You have sample chapters on your website. Are you going to be, I know you said that you wanted to have a real publisher publish it. Are you at any time, are you considering selling the book and as an ebook on your website soon? So, because people are going to be hearing this. We've had, in some podcasts, ideas, 1,000 is not very many. But to me, 1,000 downloads is a lot. So there might be people getting out there just hungry for your book.
Yeah. It's definitely my the backup plan. I'm making the push to get it published, and hopefully by now, I've got the product clean enough that it's going to be an easy sell. I'd like to think that, at least. Easy sell. It's good. It's clean. But you know what? If enough time passes and I keep bumping up against the same roadblocks, then I'll definitely pursue a separate avenue, because I'd like to get the book out there. I'd love to get some more people to read it. Love to get some public support. And at that note too, if there's anybody that listens to the podcast and they want to go to the website and they read the sample chapter and they'd like to read more, I definitely like to encourage people to use the contact form on my website. Send me a message. That encouragement really helps, especially day to day when I'm running up against these roadblocks. And if people have ideas too.
Have you? Do you know anybody else who are authors that you thought, hey, how'd you get your thing started? Or so I knew of somebody else who had written a short story book that works in the same area that I work in. So I went to them and said, hey, would you mind reading these? And then would you, if you thought they were okay, would you be willing to let me know how you got to your publisher, how they went about that? Do you know anybody that can kind of get you in that crack in the door at all, or not really?
Unfortunately, I don't have that foot in the door person. I know a guy who published a couple comic books, but that's a different industry on its own. Yeah. But if I did, I'd be like, hey, grease some palms for me. Let's get some grease on these wheels
Sure.
to get these things turning. But we'll see. Like I just said, I had kind of an eye-opening experience when I was going to actually hire a proofreader. Right? There's people who professionally proofread, copyread books. What I realized is that they charge by the word. I'm like, well, damn it, why did I write such a long book? And the average price per word for most of these people is they usually charge half a cent to a cent per word. So, I was pricing out a 240,000 word book. It was going to cost me $12 to $16 to $2,000 to have it proofread.
Holy shit.
So what I decided,
Proofread.
yeah, just a proofread. That's not a copy edit. So what I did is I said, I'll pay myself to proofread it, And I went through page by page, line by line. I went and bought a 6-pack of red pens and said, all right, the next month is just going to be proofread time, baby. Just do it. And I did it. I went through and I was very, I was lethal with myself. I'm like, you gotta realize that.
And then you were coming in talking to me going, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me that all of this was in there? And why did I have this word in there? And it made no sense to have. I'm like,
my only experience is writing my master's thesis, which was 85 pages.
It's still a sizable right, though.
And so I was like, I remember every time I got corrections or I went through and proofread and did those kind of things, all I could think of while I was proofreading it was that not only am I proofreading this and changing all this, I have to go back in and fucking change all this stuff. It's like, it's not only is this taking time, I have to go back and that's going to take time. And then I know it's not going to be okay. I know my professor right now, if I gave it to her and said, hey, can you look at this? It would fucking look like a horrible mess again. You talked about being brutal with yourself. Do you ever feel like you could just get like almost too much?
Yeah. I'm at that point right now. Because I just finished proofread. I've got all this red on these pages, and I invested in a nice laser printer, of course, because I was printing out a bunch of copies. And, anytime you print 1,500 to 3,000 pages to give people copies of the book, it's going to get kind of expensive. But I printed out a copy. I went through it page by page, and I'm actually at that point now where I'm going through and putting all the changes in the computer. I'm like, my God, this is taking forever.
I bet.
And then I wanted to get the sample chapter done, so I got that done first, got that uploaded. But it's 543 pages I did, and I'm only on page like 78 right now, going through and putting all the proofread changes in it. And it's just, I worked on it last night for about 6 hours, and it's like, wow, I just accomplished 40 pages.
Stab me in the eye with a rusty spoon.
That might actually be less painful.
And I think editing these podcasts are time consuming.
And they are too, but holy Nikes. That's a doozy.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, good for you though, man.
I can't wait
fantastic.
until it's a done deal. I can't wait to actually have a physical hardback cover of your book signed.
Oh, me too. That'd be so sweet.
I will bring you some memorabilia for your podcast room here.
And I can't wait to go to Comic-Con with you.
Yeah. Do you want to tell people about the dream?
I had it. It's pretty basic. I woke up one morning. I had a dream that I was at Comic-Con with Aaron, and we were promoting the hell out of his book. And I woke up and I grabbed my phone and I dialed. I'm like, hey, I just had a dream.
No, tell her how it really worked. Okay, I'll tell from my perspective.
You tell.
Funny.
Change the perspective on us. Go ahead.
First thing in the morning, my phone rings and it's Matt. I don't usually get calls from him first thing in the morning. I'm like, oh, something's up, something's happening. He's like, dude, I just had a dream about you. I'm like, all right,
isn't that a great way to start a conversation?
I'm gonna step back here just for a second. We'll analyze what that means. But then he started telling me that we had a dream. We went to Comic-Con. Like, we promoted your book. I'm like, all right, that's badass. Because that tells me, A, you believe in my book enough that you foresee it actually going somewhere, and then you want to be a part of it, which is cool. So yeah, let's get some T-shirts printed up. Let's go to Comic-Con, hang out with all the cosplayers.
Or your brain is just so saturated with his book. Your synopsis firing even in your sleep.
And that was before he said, okay, the new ending is done. Go reread the book again.
You're right, though. That says there's a belief there. That's pretty sweet.
I made him into my first minion.
There you go.
Worldwide domination. It's going to happen.
Did you ever see the Walter White? So did you see a guy made a Walter White
Mask,
like
right?
mask that's like perfect,
Like a Guy Fawkes mask.
almost like that, but it's like one of the rubber ones that you can slip on. And so the guy who plays Walter White, why am I blanking on his name?
I don't know.
Bryan Cranston.
Bryan Cranston. There you go. He was at Comic-Con and he asked the guy. It was like a $5,000 mask that this guy handmade of him as the bald guy with the goatee. So Cranston puts on the mask and walks around Comic-Con with the mask on, and nobody knew it was him.
That's
People took
awesome.
pictures with him, but they didn't know that he was him inside the mask. And he brought it on Jimmy Fallon and said, "Look at this." And Jimmy Fallon put it on and put the glasses on, and it's obviously it was a bigger head because it had to
Sure.
fit over. But oh my
Yeah.
god, it was pretty incredible looking. They can do some serious shit with those masks now. So who knows what you do with your characters?
Yeah.
Holy cow!
Well,
I was saying that you need like a 3D editor to create these characters just exactly the way you want them and have them on your website so people can like spin them around. And it's just so it's amazing now how quickly video games come out, and this book could be a video game easily. And what we were talking about earlier with creating a world and plugging yourself into it. This could be one of those. It's interesting to me that technology is getting that advanced to where that could be a possibility sooner than later.
like instantaneous 3D renderings of characters out of a book.
Yeah, people aren't going to be playing Halo. People are going to be in Halo.
Right.
Well, and it's anytime you create something like that, you create a world, you create characters, you have a very profound attachment to them. I'm very attached to the characters I'm about my book, even the ones that I apologize to them. I do feel a certain amount of remorse for them, but it's one of the main reasons why I work with a young lady named Carrie Rhodes, who's got quite a bit of artistic talent. I mean, she's a very good artist, and she agreed to read through my book, but then as she read through, she would do sketches for me. Like, well, that is awesome because then I could see, then I could see some of the things that I've written. You know, like the first monster I ever created was a nasty. You know, he's a.
Don't give away too much.
I'm not going to give away anything about him, but he's awesome. He's my favorite.
Chocolate coated goodies.
But
Love it.
yeah, she drew a picture of him, and you know, even if her sketches, basically her impressions, aren't exactly how I envisioned it, it was neat seeing the representation, the visual representation of what somebody took out of the book, whether aligned from mine or not. It was just neat seeing that somebody took the time to actually draw these out.
Again, another inspiration. It sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah, I was looking for Christmas gifts to give to some of my closer friends at work, and I came up with magazine subscriptions. Yeah, we're very unique.
Popular science, man. Freaking rules.
Yeah, I came across one, and we had just talked about the 3D imaging, and I found one that was all about 3D imaging. I thought, oh, I'm going to get it for Aaron. He'll love this. Well, maybe, but if he really got into it, he'd love it. And then I looked at the price; it was like $135 because
Wow.
every magazine comes with a disc that you load up on your computer, and it gives you basic models that you can then.
Okay. You can start rendering.
wow.
You can start
Yes.
rendering your own 3D images and stuff.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Wow.
So maybe I'll show you on the internet that magazine.
That'd be awesome.
That might be something you
I'm
get in.
not giving you this. Now I'm just going to show you where you can see it.
Yeah.
It's the thought that counts.
Merry Christmas.
It's the thought that
It was
counts.
the thought that counts.
At this
you
point,
son
it's
of
the
a
thought
bitch.
behind the gift with no gift. It's the thought.
There you go.
But hey, sometimes it's better than the gift itself.
You're right. Can inspire you.
What I'd love to see is I've got 3 blogs I wrote for my website. And I haven't written anything in the last month because I've been so immersed in this proofread, trying to get a marketable copy to start shopping to agents again. But if anybody in the podcast world listens to this and they want to read a little bit more about the process behind writing this book, I've wrote 3 distinct podcasts on here. One is called The Power of Music. It's about the song that inspired the book, essentially. The other one is called Character, where I actually pose a question. Matt read it. Somebody actually already went online and posted a comment on it. But I talk about character and what, as a reader, what do you like? What do you look for in a character? What are the important aspects, attributes of a character that really draw you into a book? And then the last one is just kind of about the process. But if anybody out there hears the podcast and wants to check my website out, go to my blog, read some of those blogs. I'd love to see some feedback on it. Love to get into some dialogues, some conversations with people. Love to interact. So
Awesome.
Well, it's funny. You're talking about music and that inspiring you for that initially.
Mm-hmm.
I used to listen to music, especially in high school, while I was reading a book. I would usually listen to music in the background. And so now to this day, there's a book called Magician Apprentice by Raymond Feist, Feist,
Yeah, I've got it sitting on my tablet waiting to read.
Again, it's up there with sort of Shannara because I like this. This starts out with these two young boys who are playing together in the courtyard.
Go ahead and ruin the book.
No,
he hasn't read it
yet. Up. Two young boys who are in this courtyard playing together, and they're like any other kids that are playing, pretending what they're going to be when they grow up. And then you get to watch the progression of their lives, through 2 or 3 books. And Junior to this day has read them probably 4 or 5 times because he just thinks the story is so good. And just likes the adventure that they go on are pretty amazing. But even now, if I hear Sting, I forget what his one of his first CDs that came out. If I hear that music, I can remember reading parts of the books that I read. And then when I see the book or I see it on the bookshelf, I think about Sting when I see him. It's just one of those associations. So it triggered when he said that. It triggered that. I like hearing. Well, and I'm like you. I love soundtracks, just instrumental soundtracks for movies. I've mentioned this before. To me, it makes a movie. If you have good instrumental soundtrack, it can add depth like just nobody's business.
Well, 2 of the greatest soundtracks I'd consider of all time, Braveheart and Last of the Mohicans. 2 of the greatest soundtracks because those you take the soundtracks away from those movies and they have almost none of the emotional impact that you had. The score is that good.
Amazing.
And that's one of the neat things that I found out about this 2 Steps from Hell. There's other groups like them. The Immediate. Well, they publish mostly trailer music, so the songs are short. So by their design, they have to have like a very distinct, very, very profound emotional impact in a very short amount of time. So the songs are usually, they're intense. And that's what I liked about it because it really kicks you into this frame of mind. And I'd be working it. I had people walk in while I was working and I usually always had this music going in the background listening to it. Not necessarily white noise, but it just, for some reason it changes my frame of mind. And they'd be like, how can you listen to that? That would put me to sleep like instantly. I don't know how it would put me to sleep because it kicks me up into this creative mindset where I start going. Without it, I've found that it makes a very distinct difference for me. If I'm writing in just straight silence, I struggle. But if I play this music, even if it's quiet in the background, it does something. It helps.
That's awesome. That's a Thomas Newman. His soundtracks for me do that. Just amazing guy.
You're fucking Thomas Newman. I just wanted to say it. I just wanted to say that to make you and your Thomas. You and your Thomas.
If you like the music to American Beauty, he was the man.
Ding, ding. Yeah, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly like it sounded like. Dink, dink. Jeez Louise.
I'm sorry. I'll edit that out.
No,
I apologize.
Don't edit it out.
Hey, Todd, how can people follow us on the podcast?
Well, the best way is to go to our webpage, theprimalscream.org. On there, you can click on iTunes to subscribe or Stitcher, whatever.
God.
And
every time.
Well, he doesn't know what goddamn day it is.
Hey,
so
I
what's
didn't
the
say
difference?
the date. It's the 11th.
Because you don't even know.
It's December 11th.
No, it's not. You're so full of shit.
Damn it, I just guessed.
It was a good guess. You're only 2 days off. It's 13th. Go to our webpage. You can like us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. I try to be pretty active on some of the cool things that we talk about and things that we see. Also on there, please go to what page is it where they can see the pictures of Aaron's book?
It's on the very front page.
Front page.
And it rotates. Thank you for visiting our website, Todd. Because if you did, you'd notice it's right on the very front page.
I always
These
see
images rotate through.
I always see the gorilla when I get on there, and I automatically click the podcast and listen to a podcast. So I don't sit there and say, "I'm sorry, let me pause and just watch the screen and see what great work Matt's been doing." Ouch! I already know he does great work, but
God, I love giving you a hard time. Anyway, yeah, it's right on the front page, and you're going to see Aaron's book cover is called Within. It's so big, two big eyes. Click on that. Yeah. Click on that. You'll go right to his website, and you can from there check out his sample chapters.
Yeah, please do.
Recently got.
Give him lots of feedback. Sounds like he wants it, and the more the merrier. And then also, if you want to go to our donation page, We're always looking to upgrade our microphones and our headphones and all that kind of crazy shit. But it's, it's Christmas time, so we understand. But,
Yeah, unless you need to go to like payday loans. And if you're going to...
A half penny, sir.
It's called Christmas Day loans.
Oh,
Day
God. What a good one. Trademark.
Yeah.
There you go.
Trademark.
Trademark, Aaron.
It's mine, people. And Tiny Tim is their mascot.
Oh, God, that'd be so bad.
God bless us, everyone. That'll be 500%.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Is anything else?
I think I pretty much covered it. I tweet the shit out of the stuff.
Yeah, if you're on the website, you're going to see our tweets.
Yeah, but like it's on
tweets.
It's tweet. I think it's tweets.
Our tweet is
Tweets.
If anybody's on Twitter, they can. I've got links to both Twitter and Facebook on my website. So I try to stay active on Twitter and Facebook, give people updates on what I've released. As far as I will have more sample chapters as well as short stories I'm planning on uploading to my website. So stay active on Twitter and Facebook. I've got links to those on my website, and definitely don't be a stranger. Pop in and say hello.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It has been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
having
thanks,
you on.
Aaron.
It's been a neat experience. Thank you guys for having me on here.
Will you come back?
I will definitely come back.
And before you come rich and famous.
Yeah.
We like the raw,
Yeah.
Aaron.
And then don't forget us.
Yeah, when you get up there, don't forget us.
Come back. Because we might
go to the donate button on our webpage.
Those poor guys.
Those poor bastards.
Are they still in their basement? I think so.
They still have no hair? Yeah.
Yeah.
Same guys.
Same guys. I'm Matt.
I am Todd.
And I'm Aaron.
We'll see you later.
Adios.
Good night.